Hey my good friends, Sam Haymart with Test Driven TV. Today we're test driving something kind of new. This is the 2026 Mazda CX-50. Not necessarily new, but what is? It is now offered in a hybrid. Yeah, so we're going to have a good look at it inside and out. We're going to take it for a drive. Then I'm going to tell you what I really think. Having a look at the vehicle that Mazda has given us to test drive this week, this is a fully loaded 2026 CX-50 with the new hybrid powertrain option. Now, this is available in two other powertrains, a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder, a 2.5-liter turbo, and now the new hybrid. Now, the hybrid is something of a, hybrid, and by that I mean that this is a powertrain that is actually brought over from Toyota. Toyota is a partner of Mazda on a number of different ventures. This is actually built in a plant here in the United States where Toyota SUVs also roll off the line. Now, those two vehicles are not related at all in the way of architecture or any of the other things, parts, pieces, things like that. They're completely different vehicles, but they are built at the same assembly line. Mazda and Toyota share that same space. And now in this particular vehicle, they share the same powertrain that you might find in a lot of Toyota vehicles. And we'll talk a little bit more about the details of that here in a minute. But talking about the CX-50, basically this is built on the CX-30 platform, which is their smaller compact SUV, but stretched out a little bit and given a more elevated style inside and out. And so it's not just a stretched CX-30. This is a completely different vehicle in terms of its style, its content. You'll find very few pieces and parts on this vehicle that you might also find on a CX-30, maybe a few of the bits on the interior, but aside that, it mainly shares the undercarriage, the platform architecture, the chassis, which is a good thing. Both vehicles, this one and the CX-30, have been quite well acclaimed, and when we test drove a CX-50 a few years ago, very, very high praise for a lot of its attributes. But let's talk about the styling, because that's what we're standing out here looking at it to do. It's pretty bold, isn't it? Looking at the grille and the headlights, there's a lot of sculpting, a lot of cuts going on there. This is not a Jelly Bean with a painted on face in the least. This has some beautiful LED headlights. These on this trim grade are the high level adjusting, self-leveling LED headlights. And I just love looking at the grille on this Mazda and a lot of their models because they've really spent some time giving it some three-dimension. And I appreciate that in my design eye. Coming around the corner, 19-inch wheels on this trim grade. If you do get down into the lower trim grades on this, the preferred and the premium, you will find smaller wheels. But here we have the larger wheels with the lower profile 55 series tires and a 225 width. Big black cladding in sort of a squircle design for the wheel opening, which is very handsome and fits with the silhouette of this car. It's big, bold, muscular shapes, big cladding going down the side. Up on the top, you'll see that this does have standard roof rails, and on this trim grade, this does have the panoramic roof with the front opening section. Coming around to the rear three-quarter view, this is actually a pretty handsome vehicle when you look at it from this angle, in my opinion. Very much like the front. You can really see the broad shoulders and the broad hips that this has. The wheels are pushed out to the corners, and the sheet metal really gives this some silhouette, especially when you come and you look at it just right in our shots. You can see that this vehicle just has a nice broad-shouldered appeal to it. And the other thing you can really see from this point of view is the fact that this has a much less tall greenhouse than a lot of the SUVs out there. A lot of the bulk is about 2/3 up, and then the rest of the third is that. And it gives you that muscular athletic stance. This does have still a pretty good ground clearance at 8.1 inches with this hybrid model. And so part of the silhouette and the stance you see is this car-like body structure that has a higher lift. I do find it quite appealing. Now, looking at the rear hatch, this is a power rear hatch on this trim grade. Big LED taillights. And as you can see, those do have quite a bit of sculpting. They pop out from the sheet metal, which gives this a lot of visual relief. One thing I would point out though is if you look at the rear bumper, there's not much of a bumper there. It's almost flush with the rear hatch, which to me means I'd have to be pretty cautious out there backing into things, or if anything bumps into the car, it's going to be really easy to damage the sheet metal there as opposed to a big bumper that's going to protect the vehicle. Just something to point out. Inside the CX-50, the first thing you'll notice is that there is a substantially elevated interior design and content. The materials in here are of a very high quality. There are a lot of soft stitch trims across the dash and on the door panels. And in this fully loaded model, we have some beautiful maroon red leather with black accent striping. That red trim also goes to the doors as well as the center console. It's very handsome to look at. If this isn't quite your speed, this is available with a black interior as well. It's comfortable. It's very driver-centric. The quality materials is a step up from a number of other vehicles in this class. When it comes to technology, looking forward, I have a 3-dial conventional, traditional looking analog instrument cluster. However, the center screen is a digital screen. It just looks like an analog gauge. Steering wheel, nice leather covered wheel. The center infotainment screen is a rectangular screen. It is a touch screen at some times, but its distance is a bit too far away to use it as such if you're driving down the road, which in most cases, it won't allow you to do that anyway. Instead, there is a puck down here on the center console, a couple of buttons, and a volume knob. We've talked about this before if you watch my videos. This is not my favorite infotainment system in the industry. Almost every single other manufacturer has gone to a conventional contemporary touchscreen that is much easier to use, much more intuitive, and I believe safer behind the wheel. This requires you to filter through menus using this puck knob, which is very similar to playing Pong on Atari in the 70s. Not the best system. Mazda has held on to it for quite a while. The good news is that in their latest products coming out, they're finally getting away from this, but if you're looking at the CX-50, you still need to adjust yourself to yesterday's technology in that way. The good news is this does have a Bose audio system. It has a great sound. It has a subwoofer in the back. This does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wireless. And using the Apple CarPlay, in my case, does bypass a lot of the binary analog behavior of this infotainment system, but you still do have to use this knob to navigate around in Apple CarPlay, which is a little bit strange. The rest of this interior is quite a treat. These seats are extremely comfortable. In this particular trim grade, I do have power seats, heated, ventilated, and there is a power seat for the passenger. If you get down into the lower trim grades, you lose the power seat over here for the passenger. Above me is a large panoramic roof. The front section is openable. It does have a closable opaque cover if you don't want to have the light coming through. The rear passenger compartment of the CX-50 is a little bit larger than the CX-30 that I referenced in the beginning of our video on the exterior walk around, but even though this is slightly larger, slightly longer, you still are not mistaken for the fact that you are sitting in a compact SUV. This is a little bit snug back here. The seating position is a little bit on the lower side because this cabin, it's not quite as tall as a lot of the SUVs out there. It's a little bit more car-like, but not uncomfortable. These seats have a nice bucket to them, so you feel supported on both sides. You feel like you're in the seat, not on it, which is nice. This also has heated seats back here in this trim grade, vents on the rear console for those hotter days so that air blows right on your face, and there are charging ports back here, something I expect at this price tag. This does have a fold-down armrest, cup holders in it. Now, this does seat 3 across in the back, but this is a narrower car. It would be pretty snug if we had 3 large adults back here. Now, these seats do fold down in a full 60-40 split. And when they fold down, you actually get a somewhat flat load floor back here. And folding them down, pretty easy. You just pull a lever in the back and down they go. I love that. You don't have to really go to a lot of gyrations. If maybe you open the back and you're at the big box store and suddenly you realize those seats need to go down, you don't need to open the side doors to get to that. Nice. And even if you don't put those seats down, that is a pretty large cargo area back there for a compact SUV. There's a lot of depth there. And the other nice thing is underneath that floor, you will find a temporary spare tire. Always nice on an SUV. And really sort of taking a step back and looking at this interior, compared to a lot of the vehicles that this competes against. I would say the one thing that really sets this interior apart and just the general aura of this car is the fact that when you sit behind the wheel, it reads very much like a car or a sedan. Even though you do have a higher seating position like an SUV, the height of this interior, the seating position, you sit down in this vehicle, not on top of it. And so as you sit from behind the wheel, you might be sitting in any other sedan out there. And so it does have that comfortable car-like feel, which is sort of refreshing these days. All right, my friends, so my favorite part, the drive. So the first thing we have to talk about is what's under the hood, because it is a good thing. This is a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine mated to Toyota's hybrid system. So there is an electronically controlled, continuously variable transmission in ECVT in the front with the gasoline engine, which means there's an electric motor and a gasoline engine at the front. And at the rear, there is a separate electric motor, which gives this all-wheel drive standard. All of these things can work in concert with each other. They can work separately. They can work together to give you more power, or they can simply work one on their own to do any number of different functions, be it generating electricity for the battery, which sits under the rear seat, the hybrid battery, or simply starting this car from a stop at a slow speed. This can operate on electric power only. It's standard hybrid 101 stuff. But the fact that they have brought this powertrain from Toyota, I think, is a smart move because it's proven it works. Mazda doesn't have a lot of experience in the hybrid realm just yet. And while they do have hybrid models in other areas of their showroom, they don't share the same architecture as this. So it's a nice thing. This has 219 horsepower. It has 163 pound-feet of torque. With the hybrid powertrain, this can tow up to 1,500 pounds. The big news is the fuel economy. This is rated at 39 mpg city, 37 highway, and 38 mpg combined. In my week with it, I have seen just under 36 mpg, but in fairness, I've had the air conditioner on quite a bit. It is late February, early March here in Phoenix, Arizona, and guess what? That means it's hot already. Can you believe it? I'm using the air conditioner. That is absurd, but true. So the thing is, if you watch my videos, you know the question I always like to ask is, how does it go? So we're out here on a back road, nobody really around, and go. And 60. So power's continuous. This is not the fastest vehicle in the world, let's be honest. It weighs a lot, 4,000 pounds, which is pretty heavy for any vehicle, let alone a compact SUV. But a lot of that goes to the fact that we do have all-wheel drive and a hybrid powertrain. Those things add weight, the battery, the electric motors. But it's a powertrain that's refined and it works well. The starting and the stopping of the gasoline engine, the change between electric and gas power, and the interchange is pretty well done. Toyota's been doing it for a long time. Again, I think Mazda was pretty smart borrowing that architecture and just bolting it right in. And this is a vehicle that, with all of its size and its solid construction, has a pretty quiet ride, I think. Having driven this before, both on and off-road, it's a pretty robust chassis. It feels of quality. It takes bumps, potholes, speed bumps in stride. It never feels like a car that was turned into an SUV. It feels robust and well built on the rough stuff. But just as important, around town where you're turning corners, maybe you're taking curves, this has the Mazda DNA when it comes to its driving style and appeal. And that's what I love about it. It's got the nice steering feel, which feels sharp and light, something Mazdas have always had. And I just find it ironic that as someone who has really come up on the Mazdas of yore in the 80s and 90s that were just really affordable driver's cars that had a lot of the same appeal and the same driving character that you might expect in a BMW, but at a price that more people can afford, that DNA in its driving feel and its character is still something that Mazda has. And even though this is a pretty heavy vehicle that has a hybrid powertrain, not known for being something drivers really get excited about, this is a vehicle that's still fun to drive around town and has a bit of a sporting appeal, which makes me smile. It makes me happy. I really do like the driving character of this compared to a lot of the compact SUVs on the market, which tend toward not necessarily having a sporty appeal. They don't tend to have a sharp driving character. They tend to be more engineered for a soft and bouncy ride and something that's just more rental car like. That's not what's going on here. This is a driver's compact SUV. Yeah. All right, my friends, we've had a good look at it inside and out. We've taken it for a drive. Now I'm going to sort of sum it all up and tell you what I really think. First of all, I have a soft spot for the Mazda brand. I've owned a few of them over the years, mostly Miatas. I used to sell them back in the 90s when I was younger and I was a car salesman. They were the brand that I sold. And so I do have, I believe, a pretty good knowledge of the brand, what they're about, what they've always been about, and they continue to be about. This is a vehicle from the brand that offers a nice compact size. It's a little bit heavy at 4,000 pounds, but if you like a compact SUV and you want the feeling of driving a vehicle that rewards the driver, this is a good place to look. And what they've done by adding the Toyota hybrid powertrain is a nice thing, because for an SUV that is something that's pretty substantial in weight and heft and it feels solid, you can get 35 miles to the gallon without even trying, and you can do better if you try. And that's a wonderful thing. And if you're not sure about the whole Toyota and a Mazda thing, well, Toyota's powertrain is very reliable. It's proven. Their hybrid powertrain is the world standard. It's been around for decades in Camrys, in Prius, in RAV4, in just almost everything Toyota builds. So it's not rocket science. It's nothing new. It's proven. So I'd rather have that than something new Mazda just cooked up, if I'm honest. So this is a vehicle that offers a lot of practicality. It's got design appeal. This interior is beautiful. It's comfortable. It's fun to drive. The one thing I would complain about, and we talked about it a little bit, is the yesteryear infotainment system that not only lacks a lot of the features we expect in an infotainment system today, a backup camera at this price, a 360-degree view, a backup camera that has lines that move, something that's easy to use. I could go on, but I'm not going to. Mazda has learned the lesson in their latest vehicles coming out. They are bringing out a more contemporary infotainment system that's more what we would expect today. So there's that. But overall, I like it. I like the style. I like the value for the money. It doesn't have all the features you might expect from some of the other competitors out there, but it offers things they don't, which is character, driving appeal, all that. So yeah, there it is. That is our review for the 2026 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. Yeah, so if you like what we do, you can see our latest video right there. Better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can do that right down there. Either way, stay tuned.